Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go ahead and start this meeting tonight. We'll get all rise and pledge allegiance as we begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. All 5 council members are present. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes held from May 22nd and the 29th, 2004. But before we do that, we have one amendment.
Yes, citizen Kelly Roderick brought to my attention that her name was left off the attendance list, so we need to add her to the May 22nd.
I make a motion, we accept those minutes with that amendment.
Motion's been made. We have a second. Second by David. All in favor? Next item on the agenda is to approve the liquor license renewals and special amusement permits.
So the liquor licenses entail, so you have the American Legion. The American Legion was getting a special amusements permit, plus a catering permit, plus their regular liquor license. The Waterville Country Club actually has their inside liquor license. They have their beer cart license. They have their snack shack license and their special amusements permit. And the Thirsty Mule has their regular liquor license plus their special amusement permit.
I make a motion, we approve those licenses for those 3 establishments.
Motion is made. We have a second by Dave Jordan. All in favor, all questions are none?
I assume there have been no complaints.
No complaint.
We would have heard that, okay.
Just so we make it perfectly clear on that, at this time, I'd like a motion made just for the American Legion, please.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we accept the licenses for the American Legion.
Second by Bob. All in favor of just that one? Now we'll make one motion for the Thirsty Mule, please.
I make a motion, we accept the permit for the Thirsty Mule.
Second by Bob. All in favor? For one abstention. Thank you, sir.
And with Waterville Country.
And,
I make a motion, we accept the permits for the Waterville Country Club.
second by Bob. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up would be a presentation from Mr. Boyd Snowden.
Yes,
How are you, sir?
great, how are you?
Good.
Before I get going, I wanted to introduce you to our summer intern for this year. She's helping me with the inspection. She's an civil engineering student from UMaine. We were able to actually get a grant from MMA to have her work with us this year, and she's been working on the construction site and helping with GIS mapping and kind of getting her feet wet municipal for Seneca Harmon.
Thank you.
She's doing a great job for us, so very happy she's here. So we're here tonight to present the draft budget to you folks. Basically, Kelly and I have gone through this in quite detailed, so I'd like to kind of take them quickly line item by line item, and then we can talk about some of the particulars as to the cost increases and what we're looking at. So I'll I know you've got the full packet that I've got here, but I'll kind of just give you the narrative breakdown of some of the items as we go through them. So clerical wages, first line there, that's Kathy Perry helping with billing and things like that. Superintendent's salary, that's my salary for the sewer system. Labor intern, that's Seneca, as well as the overtime. The next item is for weekend coverage, when I'm on vacation, things like that. That's been pretty consistent. We actually reduced that a little bit because last year we had needed some help from Public Works folks for Fridays, when they were off Fridays. We were having them do some stuff, maintenance things around the pump station. So we've reduced that this year, but we obviously increased some in the summer internship.
Summer internship.
Yeah. Yeah, so we kind of broke that out, whereas this past year it was combined into one. So to make it clear. Fringe benefits have gone up with, insurances and all that. With almost 3,000. Heating fuel, we kept the same. We're expecting to be under budget from this last fiscal year, so we kept that at 3,500 again this year. Telephone and internet, we did bump that up to, what is that, $640. And that's with a tablet that we ended up, getting to basically, we could do GIS mapping. Seneca's using that to, get the storm drain system and update our sewer system records as we're going through that. So that includes the cost to, the monthly cost for the tablet, plus it also includes, cost for Seneca when she see her having, with her phone. And she's taking photos for the construction site, and so we can have all those on record, on file.
And we also upgraded your internet because it was like 2 clicks above dial-up.
Yeah.
So,
I did hear that.
yeah, yeah, so.
So, yeah, I forgot about that.
Business
So, that covers that item. The remote alarm management, that's our remote pump stations, alert system. Basically, it sends me a notification about my cell. If I have any alarms in the system, that includes our main pump station. We dropped that by 500. We're around 2,400 we were in 2023, so we brought that back down to reduce what we expect for next year. The electrical, we actually bumped that up $2,000. I think we're gonna be around 33,000 by the time we're done with this year. Last year, this is a little bit deceiving because part of the electrical gets paid for by, funds from the solar panel. We get,
Your main pump station is 60% of what the solar, makes every month.
Yeah.
So if we have a very sunny month, then 60% of the solar bill is gonna go to his budget, so.
Yeah.
It's.
to offset the 150 horsepower pump, the energy charge there, so.
Correct.
This used to be, like, if you look back at 2022, we were almost $52,000. Now we're in the $32,000 to $34,000 range, so we did bump it up a little bit. Last year was an extremely wet year, so our electrical costs, as you can imagine, you pump everything in water bill. So our electrical costs have gone up, so we want to hedge our bet, so we're not running short on that line. Sewer and water, that's the sewer usage, and the water billing for the plant. We actually reduced that by 500 to bring that in line with what we're seeing reality was, over the last couple of years. Insurance, we're anticipating that going up around $600, for the year. Vehicle maintenance, we bumped that up $100. Even though it's a new vehicle, just maintaining and all that, just make sure we're keeping that, in good condition. The main pump station and repair, I'll come back to that one, but that's a $50,000 number. A lot of that cost is in two different, areas that we're actually gonna use. When we get to the next slide, some of the ARPA money to pay for, but we've got it as part of the budget. We've got $20,000 for installing a valve, in the pump pit, to allow remote operation. What happens is basically the way our influent tanks are set up is it goes from one tank to the next. But the way it's set up, it doesn't necessarily drain to that lower tank unless I go in and actually open and close a valve, depending on what's happening. Problem is, it's a confined space and probably,
Not OSHA approved.
it's got a ventilation system, but the problem is when I need to get in there, it's usually in the middle of the night. There's nobody around, so I'm going down in that pit. The only one that knows I've even gone to the pump station is my wife, so I kind of like to get that, prevent me from having to go in the pit all the time, all by myself, first into the middle of the night to open and close this valve. Yeah, like to go home. So, that $20,000 also provides me, if I'm somewhere on vacation or wherever and Bob's here covering for me, I can adjust that remotely. So, that'll be good too, because there have been instances where I've been off and again, I don't want to send somebody down there by themselves where I can control that valve and actually do what I want to do to keep them discharging. So, so I feel it's something that probably should have been in the original design, but it's something from a safety standpoint I'd like to put in. The other thing, the issue I have there, and I'm gonna use ARPA money for, is we've got one of our tanks that's right beside the wet well. The wet well fills up, dumps into this other tank. And the way the design was, it doesn't allow me to pump all the way down. So I end up with this very odorous, nasty 6-inch layer of sludge on the bottom of this tank that I've got no way to get it out unless I hire a company to come out and suck it out. So what I want to do is put some just a simple submersible pump like we have in remote pump stations on a slide rail that'll go right down there. It'll allow me to go in and squeegee that out and get it pumped out from there and back into my wet well so I can send it to Waterville and I don't have to worry about that odor and having to deal with that every year. So again, that's something that probably should have been done back in 2012 with design. We've been dealing with it, but with the ARPA money, it's a good opportunity to get that updated. So those two items, and you'll see in the revenue section, which total 30,000. I'm like to use ARPA money to pay for those two items. The other 20,000 of that is we have two big pumps in the main pump station. Both of them, one of them is running, they were designed for 730 gallons a minute. One's running around 480 gallons a minute right now, just wear and tear on the impellers. And then the other one's around 550 gallons a minute. So what I want to do is replace the bowl assemblies in the one that's 480, bring that back up to the original design capacity. And then probably next year we'll do the other ones to get the capacity back to the pump station. Normal wear and tear on those impellers, we're sucking sand, everything that people flush, and in the system, we're pumping it all, and that just has wear and tear on the impellers, so it's pretty normal, it's just they're expensive to replace. Kenmore Drive Pump Station, we're looking at reducing that by 1,000. I don't anticipate any costs on that. We did some work on that a few years ago, and those seem to be holding steady. The Libby Hill Pump Station repairs, we actually bumped that up by $9,500. The two things that are going on, we actually bought a pump last year for that pump station. There are two submersibles in that pump station. And we're actually, we bought the pump, but we're gonna replace that, remove the other one. And what I usually do is have them replace the impeller with the old one, so then I'll have a backup in the future. So we already bought the pump, we're gonna have to put the pump in now, so we'll have to have somebody do that. The other big part of that is about $9,000 worth of electrical work. It was a December storm, when we lost power out here. Usually Libby Hill is pretty good about coming right back on and power, CP's pretty good about getting that back and running pretty quick on power outage. In December, when we had that multiple days of power outage, I have no generator backup at the Libby Hill pump station. So we actually had a pretty significant discharge, about 173,000 gallons of combined groundwater and sewerage that went into Meslonsky Street. So part of that, what came out of that is we told DEP that we'll look at a generator. We tried to work with FEMA to see if they could fund that. They couldn't fund it because we didn't already have the existing. So we've actually talked to Waterville Sewer District, and they have a generator that they don't use a lot. That's plenty large enough for that pump station. They've graciously allowed us to use that whenever we need it. The only thing we have to do is we have to do some electrical work on the generator to allow, put a receptacle in, and we have to put new receptacles at our Libby Hill pump station to accept the cord from their generator. It's a trailer mounted generator. We don't have to buy it. It's sitting in their garage undercover. We can use it anytime we need it. So the electrical work that I've got planned, I've got it under the Libby Hill because it's kind of one contract, but that's gonna actually provide us backup generation for both Kenmore Drive and Libby Hill. So if we have a power outage like we did in December of last year, we'll be covered. We'll be able to get a generator over here and keep things pumping. When that power outage occurred, the only option I have when we lost power out there is I had to call Central Main Disposal. And I had 2 tanker trucks running constant just to get it from the pump station up the hill, heading into Waterville. And even with that, I still lost 173,000 gallons. So it's one of those things that, DEP is probably gonna force it on us anyway. So we said, we'll take care of it, and they seem okay with it. They're happy. So that's the main reason for that increase. Building maintenance, we have that same pit. If there's any need to have anybody down doing a pump station, any pump repairs in that pit at the plant. We need to get the ventilation system, alarm system operating again, which was put in originally back in 2012. We need to do some work on it to get that up and running. Again, we got a air ventilation system that changes the air in there. There is an alarming system in there, but it's not functioning right now, so we need to get that back up and running so that if anybody, myself or anybody has to go in there, at least there's an alarm, there's something that'll alert you that, hey, the LEL is not right, or the hydrogen sulfide is a problem, and you can have time to get out. So that's the funds that I got in there are slated for that air ventilation system. Administration, I think that used to be a line item that got pulled up under clerical wages, I believe.
Nope, that was postage.
Oh, postage, okay, and that got moved down to its own line item.
Yes.
KMD sewer charges and Web Road sewer charges, KMD, we kept the same as last year. That's been pretty consistent, as you can see, 11, 14 this year, because of all the rain we had last fiscal year, it's probably gonna be up around that $19,000 figure. So we kept that there. The Web Road, that's the big swing, and that depends, both of those, the Web Road depends completely on how much rain we get. As to what we're sending everything to Waterville. So we get, like last year, we had 51 inches of rain over the last year, and our normal was like 40 to 42. So our volume that we sent to Waterville was significantly greater than normal. Anytime we have those wet years, we see a spike in that line item. So, that's gone, as you can see here, that went, 127 in 2022, 114. Again, it's all related, most of it's related to volume of what we send them. We had 181,000 budgeted last year, and I think we're gonna be over that by about 19,000 because of how wet of a year it was and the rate that water was charged. So,
We still have one more quarter to pay.
right. So we're 159, and we have one more quarter that I'm expecting to be around $40 to $46,000. So, so that obviously, that's a big swing for us, and it's all dependent on Mother Nature. What she sent us, we have to deal with, and it's mostly because of groundwater from our old clay leaky pipes. It's from sump pumps, perimeter drains, all that adds groundwater into our system, which unfortunately mixes with the sewer, and then we need to treat it. So we did reduce that a little bit from last year, hoping that basically I don't anticipate us having another 51 inches of rain, but, so we kind of hedged our bets and reduced that a little bit. Training kept the same at 500. Water company readings, that's what we pay the water company to give us the metering data so we can bill, kept that the same. Audit, we kept the same. Office supplies, the same. Postage, we did increase that by $525, just anticipating what we're gonna be, what the charge is gonna be for next year. Gasoline, we upped that by like $200 just to reflect what we see in this past fiscal year. Wearing apparel, that's basically safety gear that we had, you know, steel toe boots and hard hat and everything for Seneca, plus the clothing allowance for myself.
And that was always pulled from a different area, and I want to categorize it into the correct line item. So that's why we made, wearing apparel for his budget.
A lot of these were in like years ago, like when I was, when Doug was here and we were doing all this, a lot of them were kind of like lumped into one item, so it was hard to tell. I think it was like system improvements line item, and that became a catch-all for, you know, a lot of stuff. So we've been trying to pull that out over the years to try to give a reflection as to where that money's going a little better for everyone. Supplies, I increased that by 500, that's grease and oil for the pumps, things like that, whatever else I needed to make pump station. GIS mapping and asset, management, financial system. We used to have just the GIS, mapping, which is, look at last year, we budgeted 2,500. Kelly's actually taken that and paid for that out of the GIS account that the town has set up, both the, we've got the GIS system online plus our utility GIS system. So 2,500 came out of that. We've actually started using this year for the first time an asset management, system that, is really gonna hit in, and there's a couple slides that will show you. It's a tool that we can use to try to be proactive about pipe replacement. We got a lot of clay pipes in town. We were fortunate with the ARPA money, you folks, you know, provided the 600 and some odd thousand. We get the 500 from the county to do this pipe replacement work, you know, $1.2 million worth of work. But there's a lot more clay pipes in the system that are fairly old, and that's one of the reasons we've got such a high non-revenue water is that clay pipe, as well as, like I mentioned, some pumps, permanent drains. Those are all feeding in, and the customers are paying, you know, every gallon we send to the river. So I want to try to use that, you know, Kelly and I went over it. I started checking into it. I got kind of a cold call email about this. Did some research, talked to a bunch of people about this program. It seems like a pretty powerful program that'll kind of help get us where I think we need to go. But it also does, not only asset management, it also looks at fiscal sustainability. It looks at, you know, projecting rates and things like that, and our cash reserve. So we can, make sure we're reinvesting into our system and doing it in a cost-effective way that benefits customers. So I think it'll be a valuable tool. It's one of those things that we also get not only the software package with it, but we also get unlimited bill. So these people are doing these for 200 utilities across the country. And basically, as we're talking about rate increases, as we're talking about putting money into investing in the infrastructure, as part of our budget, we can call them every day if we want. It's the same price. So there's a lot of benefit there. We'll see this next year. We're kind of getting our feet wet right now, and we'll see if there's value. If there's no value, we won't continue it. But if there's value, then I think it'll benefit the town in the long term. System maintenance and repairs, a $30,000 line item there. That is going to include the web road siphon cleaning, which I had originally planned for this past year, but because of the high flows and what I knew the water sewer district costs were gonna be fairly high, I held off on that for one more year. The SL rack acoustic system is part of that as well. I've got 5,000 in there for fiberglass repairs if needed, some roof treatment on some sections, sewer, main sections that, have root infiltration. Just trying to knock that back and again, gain time, till we can replace the pipes. And then I had like 4,500 in there for miscellaneous system work that might come up. The Web Road stipend is gonna be about 12, almost $13,000 to clean that. The bond is, 136,580. That doesn't change. Kelly got me some information on that. That was a 29-year loan originally. And, we got 17 years left on that loan to pay, and that was all for connecting into Waterville, all of that. Sewer abatements, we brought that down to 1,000 to better match what we saw this last fiscal year. So those are the expense items totaling $648,438. On the revenue side, we kept the interest on the users the same. We did get that MMA reimbursement, $3,500, that, again, goes right to Seneca, helping us this year. Lien collection, we dropped that by 800, just to better reflect what we anticipate next year. Investment income, we actually kept that the same as last year, but that's income that I'm not sure we ever had that before.
You did, just wasn't,
Wasn't broken out.
the, interest rates are very high right now. So,
Okay, so we're getting the benefit of that. This does show, we'll talk about this in a little bit, an increase in the sewer billing. We're pulling $17,638 from our reserve. And the $30,000 that I mentioned earlier, I'd like to pull from the ARPA money, which at this point we're into the federal money, collecting that ARPA fund to pay for those main foundation items. So, we haven't had a rate increase since 2015, and for those of you that remember that, at 2015, we didn't have a lot of reserve left when we got to that point. The thought was we didn't want to increase the rates, I believe that was the case, so, we kind of waited a little bit and then we got, our cash position wasn't great at that point. I think it was 2000. We started talking about August 2014, but the rate increase went into effect in 2015. So, we don't want to put ourselves in the same situation. Right now, we're in very good standing. I think the number is 500 and some odd $1,000 that we've got in reserve. That was built up from, and when one account, we were down to like $9,500 in 2015. So we've, intentionally, we built that reserve up, we got to cut a check one at the beginning of July. Every year for $136,000, and I think when we made that payment back when Doug was here, we had like $90-something $100 left after that payment, so we really needed to get our reserve up to a better level. So, we're looking at, as part of this budget, a 5% increase is what we're asking for. And basically, that is not really putting anything back into the system, that's just keeping all our expenses in line and not depleting our reserve. The program that I was talking about earlier, is what's called Waterworth, and they're a company out of Seattle, I guess it is. And so Kelly and I have been working with them to try to get all of our financials for the last several years to them, and then try to get some, something that we can present to you folks, and we can, it gives a good visual of what we're seeing in our system. So this line right here shows our cash position as we stand right now, wherever in this area, we're in a pretty good cash position, just under $600,000. And what I asked, that what we did with the data is we wanted to look at our projected cash position with expenses, increasing 3% every year going forward. And what that would do, what that would look like as far as our cash reserve. I did put a target of $300,000 in there, thinking that that gets a little more than almost 6 months worth of expenses paid on our end. So, and that's just a target. Obviously, that target can be set by the council, whatever we feel comfortable with, but just for this current budget, we picked 300,000, saying I really don't want to get into a situation where our reserves get below 300,000. And so we plugged that in, plugged our expenses in, again, it, figured on the 3% increase for expenses going forward, in the future years. And as you can see, if we did no rate adjustment, from now until 2030, around 2028, we started dipping below that $300,000 reserve. So that just kind of gives you a visual to what we have on the spreadsheets. Go to the next one, Kelly. So. Yep, I had that one, the next one. There we go. So that kind of expresses what we're seeing on that graph, only just taking out the other, background information. This is that same cash flow. This is the $300,000 line. That's, it says 4 months. It's actually 4 to 6 months, so 4 to 5, 6 months, somewhere in that area for coverage. And this shows that same, 2028, we start getting below that $300,000 line if we do no rate adjustment at this point. The next slide, this shows if we get a 5% rate increase this year, which would be here, we've actually pushed that, and again, 3% increase, right through to 2030 and beyond. We've actually pushed that from the 2028, at least, 2 to 3 years probably out, without doing any other rate increases. So it does keep us in a better cash position. It's early enough in this process, so we're not already like we were in 2015 down below. We were hovering in this area, I believe, in 2015. So this keeps us up in a good cash position and able to have those reserves for when DOT comes through a paving project we did a few years ago. We've got to do a bunch of manholes or a pump fails, or just like in the public works, when something fails, generally it's fairly expensive. So want to make sure we have the reserves to handle that. This doesn't account for, this accounts for only expenses, doesn't account for really at this point, replacing pipes. That's something that we want to work with the council on, and the customers over the next year, between now and the next time we come back for next year's budget. What I'd really like to do is set this up to be proactive on things instead of reactive. Most utilities in Maine for years did everything on a reactive system. It's like you didn't really invest in your system, replace pipes until you absolutely had to, and then it was an emergency, you dealt with it, and usually you paid big bucks, but you didn't spend anything until then. So what I'd like to do over the next year, after we get through this budget, is start looking at infrastructure, what we can invest, how that might look in on the rates, and trying to get it set up so that we're being proactive in pipe replacement. We're getting rid of these old clay pipes, which are reducing our groundwater, but we're doing it in a systematic manner and in a way that's hopefully doesn't hurt people as far as, costs too great if we plan to project it over 10 or 15 years. So, I think that pretty much covers what I had. So the biggest thing tonight we wanted to talk about, again, it's a draft. We wanted to present this to you, and depending on what the council wants to do, I think it wouldn't be bad to give people some input over the next couple of weeks. And so, the council will be, it's videotaped or whatever, right? So people can understand what's coming and call us with questions if they want to get more information, and then maybe come back to you at the end of June. To see if that's real final vote.
Just a clarification question, is it 3% each year, or is it 3% one time and then that's just be carried forward?
They've got this 3% each year, which there are some things that aren't gonna change 3%, so but it's just kind of a standard, it's cost of.
Like 50% off, 50% of 5.
Right.
And that's only on expenses,
That's only on expenses, yeah.
so we have to look at the rate increase to keep us square.
I just want to make sure the viewing public, the listening public understand it's not 3% this year and then nothing. It's 3% each year.
Correct, 3% this year.
Well, I think last time when we had a rate increase, we did a public meeting too, to explain to the public what you just explained to us.
Mhm.
Plan on doing that again.
So the 5%, we didn't because of time this year, the 5%, we're kind of using hopefully this meeting and then the 2 weeks and then, the final meeting. I think there'll be stuff on our Facebook about all this, so we can definitely get the word out there. I think next year, as we're going through, some of the things I want to look at is I want to dive deep into our rates, because I want to do an analysis on, lost the terminology here. Basically, I want to see what people are paying, residential, commercial. We have to talk about sump pumps and perimeter drains, because that is a big part, I think, of, it's not all of what we're seeing for flow, but it is definitely part of it. There's a much bigger discussion, and it certainly was more than we could tackle in the time frame we had to get this budget prepared. So I kind of want to do a small increase now, just to kind of bide our time until we can do a thorough evaluation and do a cost of service analysis. And have this company, Waterworth, help us with that. And then again, work with the council, with the workshops, have public meetings, so we can really get this out there. I'm sure, people that have sump pumps, for instance, are not gonna be happy if we charge, like a lot of towns do, a certain cost per quarter. You've got a sump pump because you are contributing groundwater into the system, which is in violation of our ordinance, but there are a lot of places that still have them. I want to give people a lot of input on that, but I'm not sure, we have to have our budget in place by July 1 for this year, so.
Can you give us a little summary of what we have done? I know since you've been on board, this whole groundwater thing was a major issue. And I know we had cameras that we were borrowing or using and checking out pipes, et cetera, et cetera. We had studied a couple of roads that were really bad on sump pumps. Not sure what pipes we replaced, but I know the research, you guys were very active trying to find out. How much of that have we done? I know you just mentioned again, the sump pumps.
Right.
We've been dealing with that for years and we sort of figured that we've got a problem. How would you categorize the progress we've made and where do you think the short, long range place will be when we've got the pipes under control?
Sure. So most of again, knowing the position we were in 2015 with our reserve fairly well depleted, a lot of our resources, any extra funds that we had that weren't expended were put into reserve to build that back up again, because we wanted to get in a better cash position. We did do a lot of smaller things. We got the meters, like you talked about. We put meters, we purchased through a grant through DEP, put meters out. We bought 2 different meters, put those out in the system and tried to figure out where's the heavy flows coming from. And we got a lot of good data from that. Unfortunately, replacing pipes is expensive. So what we did is we found some areas like Lower Oak Street, which we just replaced, Railroad Avenue, which is another one, South Alpine Street. Those we found in the metering program and said, we need to put money into this. Just those 3 streets is a $1.2 million job. So we don't have 1.2. So what we did is we did a lot of fiberglass repairs, a lot of CCTV inspection, replaced manholes where we could, some of the manhole covers were buried in pavement, we brought those up to grade so we could actually access them. So a lot of the money went into, I would call them small scale improvements, you know, just basically. Band-aids is not the right word, but it's small little areas that we could hit that we knew were infiltrating groundwater. Didn't, you know, like one fiberglass repair is like $5,000, so we did several of those, basically. The obvious ones that we could deal with and not small scale like that versus replacing a whole main. But we really haven't done much pipe replacement because we haven't had the funds until ARPA. ARPA funds kind of a change the game for us. It allows us to replace Lower Oak Street, Railroad. We're going to be replacing South Alpine Street. The hope is that the groundwater that used to leach into Lower Oak Street, we're no longer pumping that to Waterville, so there'll be a cascading effect, domino effect. So we should see some benefits fiscally from that, and then we can turn back and put into our system. So pipe replacement wise, we haven't done a lot, little stuff here and there, but most of it's been repairs and plugging holes that, you know, little boy in the dike, you know, plugging holes and just trying to get on top of it. There's a lot of clay pipe out there too.
What do you anticipate the timeline will be to get those three major areas in place? And
Do you mean the three areas up with the Lower Oak Street and those areas?
Oak Street, South Alpine.
Yeah.
And Railroad.
Well, Oak Street and Railroad are done, so we've replaced those 100%, and it's all within the street, it's right to the right of way, brand new PVC pipe, it's all been tested, so those are tight systems now. And I can tell you, when I was there on the site, for Lower Oak Street last fall, and then Seneca and I kind of both were there on Railroad Avenue. Lower Oak Street, there was a river following our pipe. And if you remember years ago, or a couple of years ago, when I brought the Lower Oak Street, I thought that was one of our worst areas. It's our oldest street section in town, as far as that's where the hotel used to be, I guess, in Oakland. Been around a long time. There were sections of that pipe where old services came in that you could see the gravel on the outside. There was no cap, no nothing. And when we dug that pipe up, it was a significant challenge for the contractor to be able to get that groundwater. Everything kept caving in. It was coming at us so fast. So all of that groundwater had been running into our sewer system for many, many years. So, and when the Oakland had their own sewer treatment system, it wasn't a big deal because those changes in volume, they could just kind of soak up in the treatment system here. And when we, in 2012, when we shipped everything to Waterville, the game changed. You know, now every gallon that we can save from groundwater to getting into our system is less we have to pay to pump it and treat it on that end. So, there is gonna be a pretty good reduction, or should be, based upon what I saw visually out there on the construction last year. So, Lower Oak Street's done, Railroad's done, South Alpine Street, we're trying to negotiate with the contractor. We got really good bid prices a year ago, trying to negotiate with him to do South Alpine Street. That'll be something I'll probably come back to you folks, I'm hoping at the next meeting, with his cost, what he needs to do that, to see if we want to give that to him or if we want to send that out to bid.
So if I had $500,000 and I didn't want to let my bank account get below 300,000. And you knew that if you did nothing, it wouldn't get down to $300,000 for 4 years. Is that kind of what you said in 2028?
Yeah.
I would be inclined to do nothing. I'd be inclined to not increase the amount of money I was dumping in the pot until it got down to where I thought I was still comfortable. And then I would do something, hoping that in the next 4-year period, because of the new pipe or something, that you might have less expenses, and you might not have to raise the rate to 5%. Is that,
I mean,
tell me why that's wrong?
So what we can do with that 200 and whatever it is, 247,000 or somewhere in that area. We can actually invest that into our system, and, you know, and I guess that's up to the council, how much we would use, and again, this is an arbitrary line I picked, right? But, I don't like raise the rates for anybody. LO have been after me for a couple years, starting in COVID year. You think we ought to raise the rates and on the heels of COVID and everything, I said, you know, I didn't want to do that to anybody. They're always struggling as it is. And even now, you know, I know the costs are going up. I'm looking at that as 247,000 that we can reinvest in the system and replace pipes. But the alternative you're talking about is a viable one as well. So I guess we're presenting it to you with a 5%. But I would say if we had that money, even if we used half or 3/4 of it, I can put that back into the system and replace more of the old clay pipe.
How much of the pipe could you potentially replace with that? Well, yes.
So it's around $300 a foot, a little bit stronger than that, so let's say if you use 150,000, what's that, 300? It's 150 is 500 feet or something like that.
What's our next major deteriorating pipe?
Oak Street has two sections that we actually had a backup there, 2015. Went into somebody's house, we had roots that were actually infiltrating into our pipe and it actually backed up. That's one of the reasons we do the SL RAD every year now, is try to get a handle on if there's anything that needs to be cleaned. So Oak Street probably would be the next one that I would target, just because if there are roots penetrating our pipe, groundwater can too, so. And it would alleviate a maintenance issue for us and a potential issue for our customers.
So how much of Oak Street have we done?
We have, as part of this contract, we're replacing leaking manholes, old manholes that have probably been in there 100 years or whatever. And, there were 6 fiberglass manholes on Sawtell Road that I personally viewed that just didn't believe the amount of groundwater coming into those fiberglass manholes. So those will all be replaced, but the pipe hasn't been replaced. There's little sections that we've done. We've replaced a little section. Back in 2015, I had Barry, line a section because we had, pretty significant root infiltration just south of the high school. And we lined that. Lining is okay, but it doesn't do anything for the services, and the roots just kind of accumulate right in front of people's customers' homes. So it works, but the best is to get all the pipes replaced in the roadway, 100%. So.
So everything we're talking about is just maintaining what we have. We have no ability to expand the different parts of town. Right? At the pace we're going.
We could if so we have a certain amount we can send to Waterville, you know, and sometimes in the spring, we are exceeding that. And they're turning a blind eye to that because we're a good customer of theirs. But yeah, we don't have a reserve to extend it to somebody who has a failed septic system or a subdivision that has a failed septic system. If anybody does a development, it's their responsibility to serve, you know, their development. But like happened on Pine Acres back in when that was in the 80s, 90s, you know, there was a bunch of failed systems up there and they came to the town and said, you know, we need help. So the town worked an arrangement with them and actually, added that whole area to the system. So, but those residences paid for that too. So I guess there's 2 ways to look at it, Bob. To answer your question, we can certainly not do the rate increase, and do this year evaluation that we're talking about to try to set ourselves up in a good manner, or we can do a 5% increase now, still go through everything, and then see what we need to do going forward to be.
Well, I don't think 5% is an exorbitant increase. But people are faced with all kinds of increases right now.
I agree.
Are exorbitant. And we're not gonna get caught again with like $9,000 or $10,000 because we have a better way of looking at this. You're on top of this, and we will see a year from now whether that 5% would have made a difference.
Mhm.
We will see that every year.
Correct.
And so I just lean towards not doing that, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, either way, I think there are probably arguments both ways, you know. I mean, certainly I go to the grocery store like everybody, and my groceries, my food bill's gone up 50%, right, in the last couple of years, so I certainly understand, and we're very well aware of that.
Boyd, what's the average age of your pumps?
The average age, so, the KMG pumps are probably, let's say 15, 20 years old. They're above ground, so they're not as harsh as some of the other ones. Our main pump station went in 2011. We started pumping in 2012. We have already done some maintenance over the years to a couple of them. But it's, you know, they're 10 years old.
You have like pump bills, and you have like a backup pump that you could replace it with?
Yeah, so I have two large pumps at the main pump station. They're identical pumps. So basically, if one goes down, I've got the other one to back up. So now they both reduce in capacity. I'd like to get one of them to full capacity. Because if we've had storms this last year, December, and then again in April, where we've taxed. I've been pumping everything I could pump 24 hours, and we were falling behind. We had discharge, I think it was in December, at the Messalonsk, at our main pump station, because I couldn't pump enough. So we want to get that back up to capacity, so we don't run into those issues. And again, our flows can, I mean, I think there's a slide here that I've got, Kelly, on the chart. Basically, our low flow, like in August, I think of 2022, I think it was, our minimum flow, what's the next one, Kelly? Yeah, so this right here, just a little higher up maybe. So our August and September are inherently our lowest groundwater infiltration months. That's what I would envision to be almost 100% revenue, means it's going through a meter, going through our system, it's actually true wastewater. 115,000 gallons a day. We've had, as you can see, and we've had even higher than this. Depending on the time of year, December, we get the rains, you know, in the spring, we get runoff and rains. You know, we're 3-4 times that on average. We have some days where we're 10 times what I would consider to be our low. So not, you know, 9/10 of the flow that we're receiving in those high flow periods are groundwater from multiple sources. So it's a significant issue, and it's clay pipes, like I said, it's sump pumps, it's permanent drains, it's sewer services from customers. It's not just one thing where you can go and fix. It's kind of a broad thing, and you just kind of need to, you know, every sewer system in the state of Maine, it's in the same boat. So just kind of try to be fiscally responsible, replace pipes when you can, do what you can, and then you'll know you'll never get it all, but if you can, or we can get that cut down, the less costly it is for all the customers to send it to water bill, which is what my main goal is to find those areas, fix them, so we can reduce the cost to water.
Any further questions? Just a comment, I've been dealing with the National Weather Service, NOAA or whatever, by our river predictions on the Kennebec, and they're saying these weather events are gonna be more frequent. So it's just, the result is gonna impact all of us.
Right, yeah.
No more questions, comments, thank you for your time. Our next item up is Nicole Edberg, talking about certification on value.
Well, weird sitting down to a presentation. I don't have any pretty slides like Lloyd did, I'm sorry. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm your assessor, Nicole Stenberg. Christine and I have been working diligently in the last few months here to get all the new construction into the system and make sure we have everything good that way. And the other thing we do constantly is look at sales. The market is still very strong. Very, very strong. We did increase values last year, so we increased buildings and land last year across the board. And our sales are still right around, our assessed values are right around 70% of market value still. We're still quite low. With that, if I don't do anything, if we don't do any kind of changes to values again this year, we can only certify at 77%. So last year we certified at 99 because we're looking at 2-year-old sales data. The newest sales, we're looking at the 2001, 2002, not 1 and 2, I'm sorry, 21 and 22. Sales data, it was much stronger. It had a very strong year. And I look forward to 2022 and 2023. It was stronger yet, to be honest with you. I kind of plan to do some increases in value. Again, with buildings, we're way low on buildings everywhere, basically, for our schedules. Our schedules were developed in 1996, so it's not a surprise that we're way low on buildings. Looking to increase those again, and then also looking to increase waterfront land, because I can see a discrepancy in our sales on our waterfronts versus our non-waterfronts. I'm hoping that we can certify at 87%, so we can keep the homesteads up a bit. Last year we were at 95, so 87 is still a reduction, so we would have, I think it comes out, if my memory serves me, the homestead would be at 21,750 or 700 or something like that. Instead of the full 25,000 that we could get if we were at 100%. I think we should do something this year just to do that, because as we all know, the school and the county are going up in their budgets. If we do nothing and we bring our ratio down to 77%, that means they're getting even less homestead, and if we do this, we can at least say we're keeping those exemptions up for our residents. And that's gonna really, and it will also allow us to keep our personal property up at 87% too, so we can keep some value in the personal property and that kind of thing. So that's my goal. I just kind of wanted you guys to know about it. If you have any questions about ratios and values.
Well, one of our neighbors, when they did their reval, they found out that the residential increased a lot more than the commercial. Do you see that happening to us?
Our sales show that too. Our sales show that our commercial is, the commercial market is less strong than the residential market. You're gonna see that.
Other questions?
And we do have the reval coming up, so we are under contract for the reval, so that's in 2026. Another thing I just wanted to get out there and make sure you guys are aware of for 2026, and I'm probably gonna say it every time I'm in front of you until we get to the reval, is that for 2026, the way that the reval comes in, they need time after April 1st to get out to taxpayers and make sure they have meetings and with taxpayers with the new values that they have, proposed values that they have, and then they have to get the data to me. I have to review the data. We are gonna have to commit later than the beginning of July that year. So we're probably gonna have to push the due dates back that year for taxes, just because there's just not enough time after April 1st to get it all done. And I want full transparency that it'll probably be a later due date. We'll probably just, the August due date probably just won't be able to happen.
Thank you.
You have no action items. I just wanted to let you guys know.
Next item is to discuss live broadcast of council meetings.
So it's been requested, as to why we don't do a live broadcast of our council meetings. And if we would have the ability to do so, and we're not technically advanced here in the town of Oakland.
And have to do some training and figure out the best way to do it.
Right, I mean, Abby's our IT girl, we have Mr. Owl here, does a fine job. Meetings are usually posted the night of, or the early first thing the next morning. An option is to do with Zoom, but then turn off comments, and I don't want an interactive televised live
Because I
meeting.
can't monitor it when it's over there.
We can't, yeah, it's, above our,
But I do 99% of the time, I try to post it as soon as I get home on Wednesday night, and if not, it's the first thing I do when I get to work on Thursday morning, so. It's not like I really need to post the meetings.
so, yeah,
Go ahead, Dave.
There's some other costs to that too, if you were gonna do the live.
I don't know, cause we do
'Cause I
pay,
Well, some towns, I know they pay quite a bit to do that live thing. They have that company that
yeah,
takes them or something.
Yeah,
A few years ago,
Crossroads
we actually
TV
looked into
is-
that, we investigated it to see what it was. And I think there was quite a substantial fee to that. We had that company come in, because you see, like, a couple of the towns do that here in the area, but more money.
Yeah.
This is doing the same thing.
we pay for a
It's
Zoom
just happening
membership,
at 10
but-
o'clock or 8:30 or whatever.
Right.
And the end result is going to be the same.
yeah,
Sure.
I had one email from one, person who lives in Oakland, who thought it would be nice to have it live, and said he'd watch it. He'd watch every meeting if he could, if they were live, and like we said, I don't really see the difference between live and next morning. And the Zoom things, particularly where people were allowed to chime in or have their picture presented, has caused problems in many towns with people doing things that they shouldn't be doing on it. So I think what we do now is fine. I'm not, I don't, if it costs $10 more to do it live at night, I don't see the benefit of doing it.
Don?
Yeah, I don't know what they'll get out of it, but I guess what I'd like to have, can we read what that cost would be, so we can say, you know, this is what it would cost to do what you're asking for, and what benefit are you gonna get out of it if you spend that money? I don't think there's no benefit, but I'd like to have a sense of it. Because I think a lot of people say, oh, they can do it live, we do that all the time, we don't pay anything, well, we can say it's gonna cost us 10,000, 50,000, whatever, then they say, oh, I guess I see what you're about. But I don't know, again, same thing, if I wake up in the morning or if I look at it tonight, they're not gonna rush down here and take part in the meeting because they see something going on.
Yeah.
The other thing, just for curiosity, the TV shows, the channels. What do the towns have to pay them? What is it?
no idea.
I think these other towns have like actual IT departments. I am your IT department, but I'm just saying, like, I think they have people that specialize in this and that could, if there are fines allowed, monitor it and whatnot, but the way our technology that we have right now is set up, I can't be on the computer monitoring it.
I think most of them are run by the TV stations. Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, you can watch their council meetings and it's on television.
On that channel, access channel.
Not that I have it on TV, but
channels.
So I'm assuming that the people who are asking for it to be live are thinking that they'd be able to make comments live. But I don't know if anybody asked the people who are asking about it, if that's what they're expecting. The other thing is that, I mean, you can zoom it and you can make sure that nobody's pictures are on it and everybody's muted. And then they can go watch it live on their Zoom. They can also channel it through YouTube and stuff, and fairly inexpensively, but like you said, I don't understand what the benefit would be unless it was able to have comments come in live while we're doing it.
Yeah, if it's not interactive, what's the difference?
Right.
Bottom line.
Right. We'll do some research and look at some costs and options.
Next item up, Kelly, you're going to do the update on the crosswalks.
Bob do that one.
I got them. I had one person who has a business on Main Street who contacted me about dangerous crosswalks. Since then, the crosswalks have been painted. The crew has finally got some of their other work done, so they were able to paint the crosswalks. Although they didn't paint one that's right front of Camden National Bank, and do you know why?
I do, because on the other side, it goes into a parking area where the cars are. There's not, in front of the bakery, like, there's not a spot,
It goes across the road towards
a
the,
park, into a park car.
and then it makes
Yeah.
an angle so that so it's not, still could be painted. The woman I spoke to who has a business on Main Street was less troubled by the side of the crosswalks than she was by the speed of the traffic coming down Church Street. And if there are pickup trucks in particular parked, angle parked on Main Street, well, they refer to it as playing Frogger, Frogger is, trying to get from that side over to Camden National Bank, particularly if there's a pickup truck blocking the view of the driver of the person in the side. I don't know what we can do about that. I don't know. She didn't have it, and she was happy just to complain, I think.
Okay.
Glad somebody listened, and I listened, but I don't know any way to make people slow down here.
Maybe we'll park the police over there
People want,
park the police over there for a few days.
yeah, we could do that. That would work for a while.
It's made a difference on Church Street with the nighttime, pickup trucks that go really fast. But I did, the crossing light that we have
My buddies.
by Buddies. Is that something that would be a prohibitive cost to put another one down further or up further, to have a second crosswalk that's,
They're about $10,000 a piece.
okay,
I can check with DOT, because I know they make those big triangular sign or
yeah,
diamond shaped signs with, an arrow and a person crossing. So
exactly.
maybe if we get to a couple big yellow signs from them, put them. I don't know.
Because I mean, that's the only, yes, we've got painted crosswalks, but that's the only one that has a signal, of some sort,
They are expensive, though.
yeah.
Maybe we could write a grant.
Here we go.
So think about it.
Yeah.
I guess that's my best.
Next item up is to accept funds from Maine Community Foundation.
Yes, we received a community building, 2024 grant. We were awarded $10,000 from the Community Foundation, thanks to Michelle. She wrote it for Memorial Hall, and it's going to be designated for the, securing the retaining wall that's starting to fall out on the side, on the School Street side. It needs to be redone, so. So I need a vote to accept the $10,000.
I make a motion, we accept that, right?
Seconded by Don Bowman, all in favor?
Thank you.
Can I just remind you, there was a law passed, a $10 million bond. It's gonna be available for municipal historic buildings. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's going to become effective August, sometime on August, I think. And then there's gonna be an application process. And it would be
Is that one
a
on
sweet deal of.
Federal, is it on the federal listing or?
As far as what constitutes historic.
No, I
This
mean,
is, this is a state law.
it's a state law, okay, thank you.
It's gonna be on the, actually, I think, it's gonna be on the November ballot.
Okay,
So if it's approved, and bonds always get approved by the state of Maine, that $10 million will become available to apply for.
You sent me information on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll forward it. We do have some additional other business,
I
tonight.
just got another one here too. Accepting so the ground vehicle bid.
All right, so on the last page of the packet, we had 3 bids come in, Central Maine Motors for a Ram ProMaster. This is for part of the lease purchase. We're paying a one fee to the lender, for all this stuff, but we need to accept the bid. The second one was for Ford Transit. That's the taller one that is all-wheel drive. The ProMaster is not all-wheel drive, so we would have to buy studded tires for it in the winter. And then the third one, the bottom one is doesn't have such a high roof. It's a Ford Transit cargo van. It's not as high as the other one, but AJ can stand up in it. So it's doable. With the upfit in it is all-wheel drive, and it comes in at 61,408. So guess I'd like a motion to accept
The court Ford one.
for the 61,408.69.
I make a motion, we accept that Ford bid as the cheapest one in the bunch, right?
It is, and AJ, that's what he wants. He likes it. Yeah.
Motion is made, do we have a second on the court Ford at $61,408.69. Second by Mr. Nutting, all in favor? We have some other business also. Mr. Nate Smart is here tonight regarding a request for a name of the new road.
Yeah, Mr. Kevin Purnell, owns a piece of property, you guys have that there, and I highlighted where he wants to, because he does has a right of way now. But if you have 2 driveways on one road, you need to name it. I spoke with Chief Coughlin and Chief Stubbert, and they both said that, Purnell Way, would be fine. There's no conflict, there's no roads that sound like that, and so on and so forth, so. They need to go in front of you guys to approve the name Purnell Way.
I make a motion, we accept the recommendation, Purnell Way.
Motion is made, second by Mr. Nutting, all in favor?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Fire Chief Command Car, Kelly.
Yeah, this came in after I did the agenda, so that's why it's on other business. Chief Coughlin had a really hard time hunting down a command vehicle, Tahoe, for part of that lease purchase that we're doing this coming year. There's none in Maine, there weren't any in New Hampshire, in Massachusetts, but he was able to find one in New Hampshire. So everything included, the vehicle and the outfit, it's called, at 65,350.50. So
That's the only one you found, correct?
only one we found in New England.
And that is within what we were looking for, the
It
prices.
is.
I make a motion, we accept them.
Motion is made to accept it, and we have a second. Second by Mr. Nutting, all in favor?
I understand.
Question? Okay, thank you, David.
And I do want to let you know, I did go out to RFP for the lease purchase itself with the banks, and it's due back to me on the 20th, so I'll have that on the 26th for approval.
Next item on the agenda is talk about the Worthley property. I believe you have an update on that.
I do, I met with the Worthley property is the yellow house on the corner, in case people don't know. I met with the budget advisory committee last night. We came to an agreement with the Worthley family that they would accept $180,000 if we were to purchase this. The budget advisory committee supported it 9-2. I explained to them also that this is money that is set into a fund that we get that money by tax acquired property, and then we sell that property. So it's tax money, but it's not taxed money. So it's not money coming out of our general fund that we're gonna, ask the citizens for. Right now, there's 356 or 9,000 in there. So if we were to take 180, purchase that house, that would be,
Any questions on that?
you would have to go to town meeting, special town meeting, we'd have to do a public hearing. So
Dave Grohl, you have a question?
Yeah.
Is there any stipulations for that? I know that some agreements that they had thrown out, it said stipulations about finding housing for people, it's like, this is just.
180,
Free
Yeah.
purchase.
clean purchase. Yeah,
No questions?
so I guess I'd like a motion from you guys to then work with Jan and schedule a public hearing and a special town meeting. I don't know if it's 60 or 90 days out, but it's probably looking at end of July,
Yeah. at least,
August.
Yeah,
At least.
once you develop the, warrant article. And I had kind of spoken to Kelly too. She already had permission and voted for the budget and advisory, but I wondered, once the warrant article was developed, whether you'd have to have the budget and advisory committee meet again to give their,
To look it up.
I don't know,
I can find that out.
yeah.
Lauren?
Trying to think back when we did the police station and the fire station. Did we vote on those at election, regular June or November elections? And did we actually have a town meeting or did we just have public hearings?
You did not vote on, in November, to do anything like that.
So those were all done
Right.
in coordination with the games.
The town meeting,
Not regular town meeting.
a special town meeting.
Did we have special meetings for those?
I can't tell you that we had it for both, but I do know that we did have special town meeting. Yes. But like I said to Kelly too, that if we offer the opportunity and put it out there, and we do have a public hearing, and obviously it will not be by paper ballot, it will just be show of hands. And you'll have the moderator, et cetera. I believe.
My thought on that is, I would hope we wouldn't hold a special town meeting in August, because people are still on vacation. School starts in first of September, if we could do a special town meeting when people are back, then so we could get more people in their input. You know, because just people are away and we really like to come, and we'll have more than we have on our regular town meetings. They don't know, but they're saying, to get people in, it would be nice to have people there, so. We'll take a motion and then we're gonna make a motion that we start this process. The question.
I'm not sure what the motion would be.
I guess we need a motion, correct, to continue moving forward, or do you just want it okay from the council?
I think continue to move forward, once the warrant article is finalized, we should probably meet with the council and the budget advisory. Take the vote, put it on the warrant article, like normally.
So I move that we begin the process.
Okay, thank you.
Motion, second by Dana, all in favor? Also with that.
One last thing, we're just closed on June 19th. The Juneteenth on Wednesday,
Yep.
and that is all I have.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to ask that we're going to go into a motion, we go into executive session under 1 MRSA, section 4056. All of you who came tonight, thank you, and motion discussed. Motion second by Dana, and time now is exactly 7 minutes.
I think the motion to go.
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.